But enough talking about how we do the show. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you say we just do the damn thing?
Politics, 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 politics. Yes.
Ladies and gents, clear out the vents. Ladies and gents, welcome. As if we never left, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Politics program. My name is Justin Robert Young. I will be your humble host throughout this weekly dive through the hither and non of our modern political world. I have a confession to make. This is going to be something that I believe will for many of you will not be a surprise. For many of you, it will not be a surprise. But I have a bit of an obsession. Okay? I've got an obsession. And it is not a new obsession, right? It is a newer version of an old obsession. And here's what it is. I have always been obsessed with advisors. I've always been obsessed with the masterminds, with the power behind the throne. The game, the brain trust, if you will. I've always been obsessed with that. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because I love politics, but I hate politicians is probably why. It's like I really just don't like politicians. I find them to be kind of just odious trolls. But I do really like politics, and when I listen to a politician, all right, well, here's why. All right, I'm gonna break this down. So my new obsession is Steve Bannon. But let me break down my obsession with advisors before. You ask a politician why they won, they're going to tell you the retail version. Well, I believe that we won because all the great voters in the great state of whatever state I'm in decided that enough was enough. And when I went down to the greasy spoon in insert city here, I spoke to a young lady who told me that slowly her lungs were folding inside out. And when my opponent heard about these inside-out folding lungs, he said, good. Maybe now she can take a career as a hot air balloon. Well, I said to that, no to hot air balloons. Yes to this young woman having her lungs being folded in the correct direction. And yes to you. Who likes that? Nobody likes that. Just kidding. Everybody likes that. Everybody listening to this has listened to some speech and they've been like, yeah, man, you go. You're telling it like it is. The other guys are the worst. We're the best. But when you talk to advisors, you get, a little bit more truth. You get a little bit more, you get like, oh, why did we win? Well, because we motivated white rural voters. Like, that's what you hear. Well, we didn't do enough against with working class whites. We didn't do enough with college-educated women. We didn't do enough to turn out the African-American male community, right? You get to demographics. You get to the actual reason why these things happen. Because, by the way, they don't just happen because I believe in you and you believe in me, and together we are unstoppable, you see. Like, that's Oprah. We're going to talk about Oprah, by the way, today. So I've always been obsessed with advisors. I think that advisors have a necessity in looking at the world in the way that it is written currently, and not the way that it, this BS pie in the sky that most politicians, all politicians on some level, peddle. So my current obsession is with Steve Bannon. I'm obsessed with Steve Bannon. I cannot get enough Steve Bannon news. Steve Bannon, Steve Bannon, Steve Bannon. And I'm beginning to think it's a blind spot for my coverage, because there is a very intoxicating idea for political junkies about Steve Bannon. Now, it can be terrifying if you are of a certain demographics, right? It can be liberating or exhilarating if you're of other demographics. But the basic premise is this. We don't know where politics are right now. We just had the biggest political upset of all time. The first president ever who was elected without previous military or political experience. Part of the reason why it happened was not necessarily because Bannon got him elected, but because there is this mobilized element of the electorate now that has been here for the past 10 years. It was the Tea Party, right? But they don't care about party. They care about issues, and they will turn on people in their own party. They are playing a longer game than we're going to lose the Senate this term, right? They're playing a longer game. This is kind of fascinating because it's not normally how politics has been done in the past, and what gives us a through line are technological breakthroughs. It is the fact that there is a community built around Breitbart that is looking at this longer term kind of thing. And sure, this has been born from AM radio and from Fox News and from all this other stuff. And yes, it's been replicated on the left. But now you have effectively a media baron who nakedly wants to be a kingmaker. Not nakedly as in Steve Bannon wants to do it naked. That's a horrifying thought for people of almost all political stripes. If there's one thing that the Hill Dogs, hey, what you really want? And the MAGA Trump train, no brakes, folks, can get on the same board about is that nobody wants to see Steve Bannon naked. I think we can all agree that Steve Bannon should not be nude in any kind of public setting. However, he is out here saying, I want to be a kingmaker. I want to organize fundraising for people to run against establishment Republicans. And that is different in people before. But anyway, it got me thinking about this because here's this article from the Daily Caller today. It got the Drudge treatment, so it's going to be out there a little bit. Here we go. Is Steve Bannon overrated? First off, I just want to hit you all with the pa. Look at that gigantic Steve Bannon. Look at him. Oh, look at his gigantic face. Just what the hell is going on with that head, my man? What the hell is going on with that head? Here we go. Steve Bannon has declared war on the establishment, but why should we care? Posits Alex Pfeiffer, a White House correspondent. President Donald Trump's former chief strategist plans to support challengers against incumbent Republican senators in the 2018 midterms, a move that has received plenty of media attention and responses from both Trump and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Bannon fancies himself a kingmaker, but it's unclear if he actually wields that power. Quote, when you want to talk about why there's no repeal and replace, why there's no tax cut, why there's no tax reform, why there's no infrastructure bill, you saw it right there, Bannon said on Fox News' Hannity. McConnell and Corker, that entire clique, the establishment globalist clique on Capitol Hill, have to go. Lead stories on the Breitbart website included Sebastian Gorka saying Steve Bannon is like Obi-Wan Kenobi. If you strike me down, I will be more powerful. And Steve Bannon declares a season of war against GOP establishment. This Daily Caller editorial points out the mainstream outlets also breathlessly repeat anything that Bannon says. And that he is himself a heavy leaker to the mainstream press. But it makes its point here. Breitbart is a large conservative news outlet, but does that make Bannon a kingmaker? If that's the case, Rupert Murdoch, Sean Hannity, Daily Carter co-founder Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, and Rush Limbaugh would all be deciding primaries around the country. Bannon isn't like the Koch brothers, whom he frequently bashes, and won't personally influence elections through spending money. Breitbart, however, is heavily funded by financier Robert Mercer, who Bannon reportedly met with to discuss the 2018 midterms. Notably, Bannon is not targeting Ted Cruz, who enjoys the Mercer's financial backing. Mercer and his wife Diana have already donated $300,000 to a super PAC supporting Kelly Ward, yada, yada, yada. So here's what I want to make the point on twofold with Bannon. Number one, am I overrating Bannon right now as an analyst that you trust on this show because he's new? Because there is almost no doubt that that is an element of why he is getting so much coverage. He is a new element in this political landscape, and he is very obviously flexing as much muscle as he can. But I do think that this Daily Caller editorial misses one fact. If you only look at Steve Bannon as the Breitbart guy, then I think you are fundamentally misunderstanding him. His power does lie with his connections to the Mercers, but he is a political operative. He's a political operative with a media outlet, not the other way around. And that's something that I feel like really, really, really needs to be understood, which is why I am fascinated by him. Now, here's the second reason why I might be overrating him. Because if in 1 year's time we are looking at polling for elections in November, and the candidates for which he has either damaged through primary elections are failing, or he's super successful and he winds up putting in a bunch of people that go into general elections and get slaughtered or are highly unprepared and just totally eat it. Kind of like Christine O'Donnell, I'm going to get trapped in a political controversy about whether or not I'm a witch. Then I believe his effectiveness will be something that we can that we can question. So that's my first thought. I do not know whether or not I'm overrating Steve Bannon. I know that I am obsessed with him. I know that I will continue to follow what he does because I do believe that for F word's sake, at least he's new. At least something new is happening. Ninja Steve, we will get to that in a second. But there might be a little, I will not lie, that part of the reason why I am now at least allowing in my head to creep in exactly how effective Steve Bannon is what we will talk about in our pole dance a little bit later. I'm going to get into a bunch of stuff here. We're going to get into Oprah. We're going to get into Donald Trump getting into a pissing match with the Gold Star family, which is just hilarious. We're going to get into a new poll that says half of America believes that the media is making up stories about Donald Trump. But I want to ask something that kind of got into my craw looking at Twitter. Let me see if I can find this tweet here. Because I'm genuinely curious. I want to hear from the Hill Dogs here. I want to hear from the Hill Dogs. I want to hear from the folks that really, really, really do not like what this president is doing. Here we go. This is my buddy, Jeff Canada. Jeff Canada has been on this show. I love Jeff Canada. Jeff Canada is a good man, is a good human being. He quotes Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau, a.k.a. Jon Favs, who is the Crooked Media founder, right? Does the Pod Save America podcast. Extraordinarily popular, far more popular than I am. Very, very popular, the most popular. So popular, everybody loves them, right? Liberals love themselves some Jon Favreau. So let me actually see this tweet here. Jon Favreau responding to the fact that Donald Trump is live tweeting Fox and Friends, one of his favorite things to do. Tweets, honestly, the most philanthropic thing some rich billionaire could do for the world is buy Fox News and destroy it. Jeff Canada quote tweets this and says, even better, buy it and just gradually but quickly make it start actually telling the truth. Please, Jeff Bezos, get in on this plan. Now, I don't want to go into an argument. I genuinely want to ask. I genuinely want to ask. Number one, who really feels that 24-hour news is that much of a high-stakes game? Like, if we are taking seriously 24-hour news, then isn't the problem with us? Like, isn't the idea saying the most philanthropic thing that we can do is to buy Hostess and put it out of business because they make Twinkies and it's making us fat? Like, I don't really understand much of an argument on the idea that 24-hour news is really all that important these days. But let's also just assume that it is, right? Let's assume that 24-hour news is the most important. Why would anybody ever want to shut down an outlet? Like, I don't, and maybe they're serious and maybe he's not serious. Maybe I'm taking it too seriously, right? But I can't imagine a world where the goal is let's have these things go out of business. Shame them, destroy them, fact check them, create content based on all of the above. I mean, also, like, what would MSNBC be if they were not pitching about Fox News? What would The Daily Show be if it weren't for pitching about Fox News? Honestly, like, what would the legacies of these programs for which we can all enjoy, many liberals lionize, if you do not have hastily written opinion journalism? Hastily written opinion journalism is the foundation on which this house of cards is built. Like, name a thing that people love that isn't on some level built upon hastily written opinion journalism, right? You can take it all out. Take out The Daily Show. Take out Stephen Colbert's career. Take out John Oliver's career. Take out Twitter. Take out the hot take media. Like, all of it. All of it's gone. I don't think you take out this show, because mostly I make fun of blogs. I'm a Luddite like that. Mostly I make fun of writers. I make fun of writers, not necessarily TV news. I'm dismissive of TV news. You could take it away. I should be the only one saying that TV news should go away. That's my objective argument, is that TV news should go away. I mean, I don't actually care about it. But that's ultimately all Fox News is, right? That's all MSNBC is hastily written opinion journalism. You want to know what? This is a great way for us to get into this story. This is an Axios. I found it on Axios, at least. Axios is pretty good. It's a Politico poll, though. 46% of the media believe, 46% rather, believe that the media invents stories about Donald Trump. %46% is largely divided on partisan lines. 76% of Republican voters think the media made up stories about Trump, while only 1 in 5 Democratic voters think that. A Politico and Morning Consult poll shows. Those who strongly approve of Trump's job performance are very likely to think that the media makes up stories. All right, you guys ready? I'm going to unleash a hot take. Now, y'all know this is my old profession. It's where I came up. I came up in newspaper journalism. I believe in newspaper journalism. I believe that great work is done every single day by reporters who work very, very hard in hostile environments. I believe that the situation that we have laid out for ourselves in our modern era is one where it is very, very hard to do what newspaper journalists ultimately do best. However, I believe that the media has in the media writ large, and let's be fair. Let's cull it down a little bit. DC assigned media, the beat report media in Washington, D.C., assigned to cover the White House, that they have made their bed with this. This has been one of the noisiest off-the-record White Houses that I can remember in terms of the explosive nature of what they are giving to reporters and how often it happens. And yet, I don't necessarily doubt that any of it is untrue. So I am not one of the 46% that believes that the media is inventing stories about Donald Trump. But I do understand where you could. Because in my mind, the Occam's razor on this is more that a bare minimum journalistic threshold was met to run an unnamed source. But I know what that is. I know how easy it is to get people to talk, right? And that there are certain access journalism industries for which politics is one of them, in which you wind up running a lot of stuff that's on background or unnamed. But what Donald Trump has effectively done is said, well, all right, either put your name on it or I'm going to challenge it. So if it's unnamed, I will go out of my way to refute it. I will deliberately make you pay the cost for running unnamed sources. So what are you supposed to do if you're a media outlet? Well, number one, you should think about running a few less. And number two, you should be very, 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 very careful about where you run them. Now, I think that we've gotten better at it recently. I think that now that we're outside of like the first 5 months, it's not every story isn't 5 unnamed sources about how Sean Spicer is or is not going to lose his job. You know, we've kind of settled in a little bit more. Now, God knows if things are any less chaotic behind closed doors in the West Wing, but we have kind of settled down. The media has kind of settled down about what is being reported. So if Donald Trump can wheel out whoever is being reported on and have them first person say, this report isn't true, or he says out and out, this is fake news, then you are essentially creating a division. Who do you believe, me or the media? And this is kind of a long time coming, but a lot of people think that maybe the media isn't giving it to them straight. So, of course, I mean, like this is going to present it as a shock poll, but it doesn't seem very shocking to me. I mean, number one, out and out, you know, you've got right-wing punditry that refers to journalists as Democrats with bylines. Felix Wow says, bring back the fairness doctrine. Oh, man, I don't know about that. I don't know about weighing and measuring our opinions. That seems dangerous. I mean, like, you see who's in the White House? We're going to leave it up to the federal government to decide what's fair, what's not? I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's get into some serious business. We have an urgent news bulletin. This coming out of CBS this morning. Gayle King, the news anchor and best friend of Oprah, asked this question on the morning news.
Briefly tell what your piece is about, because I think that you could break news here today.
Yeah. About my piece?
No.
Oh.
Not about your piece.
Okay.
2020, I'm wondering if you've narrowed down your short list of VP candidates.
Oh, she's lost her mind now. No, I haven't. No.
It took me a minute to follow. I'm like, VP candidate.
2020, I was thinking of the show.
People ask it all the time. Even I am now starting to think the rules have changed about running for president. I said I would bet my firstborn that you would never do it, and Kirby goes, hey.
Well, you can be safe with that. There will be no running for office of any kind for me. But I thought you wanted to talk about my 60 Minutes piece.
All right, just briefly.
Nobody wants to talk about your piece, Oprah. We wanted you to run. Ah, come on. Ope. Come on, man. Why can't we get some excitement? Why can't we get some excitement? I swear to God, if we don't have any crazy people run in 2020, I'm going to be very, very upset. I'm going to be very upset. I'm going to be super pissed off, man. I'm going to be annoyed. I'm going to be cheesed off. I am. I wanted Mark Zuckerberg and The Rock and Oprah, Mark Cuban, all of them. All of them. I wanted her to get up on stage and promise everybody a car. I wanted her to rhetorically release the bees on her opponents. I do think one of them is. Maybe it's not Oprah. I mean, the only reason why I believe that this kind of stuff would be likely to happen is just, again, because Donald Trump did it. As soon as Donald Trump does it, now all of a sudden it opens up the ability for every other rich person. You know? And on the other hand, if you're a rich person, you want to run for president, you look at what Donald Trump did and you're like, well, I mean, Donald Trump probably only won because he was running against the second most unpopular candidate in presidential history. But wait, if I got through the primary, that means that I would be running against the least popular presidential candidate in presidential history. I mean, come on. Oprah. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, in all seriousness, exactly how much of a stomach people have for more celebrities. But I don't think that's going to stop celebrities from doing it. I think there's going to be plenty of celebrities that are out there that are like, if we're ever going to see Clooney run, now's going to be the time. We're going to get Clooney. Clooney's gonna be up in it. All right. Here's, I don't even know how to talk about this one. Donald Trump. He's in a pissing match with a Gold Star family. Here we go. We'll read this Politico story by Louis Nelson. President Donald Trump on Wednesday accused a Democratic congresswoman of having fabricated an account of what he told the widow of a fallen soldier that her husband, quote, knew what he signed up for, escalating the furor over the proper treatment of Gold Star families. This was his tweet. Democratic congresswoman totally fabricated what I said to the wife of a soldier who died in action, and I have proof. Sad. The Congresswoman, Federica Wilson, told reporters Tuesday that Trump, speaking to the widow of Army Sergeant LaDavid Johnson, said, quote, he knew what he signed up for, but when it happens, it hurts anyway. Wilson said she heard part of the widow's conversation with Trump via speakerphone and specifically heard that remark. Quote, yeah, he said it. To me, that's something that you can say in conversation, but you shouldn't say it to a grieving widow, Wilson said. And everyone knows when you go to war that you could possibly not come back alive, but you don't remind a grieving widow of that. That's so insensitive. I mean, Johnson's mother, in an exchange with the Washington Post on Facebook Messenger, God, welcome to 2017, confirmed Wilson's version of the conversation and said President Trump did disrespect my son, my daughter, and also me and my husband. Trump, in a brief exchange with the White House press pool ahead of the meeting Wednesday, remained insistent that Wilson had fabricated her account, twice repeating to reporters, Let her make that statement again, and then you'll find out. Man, is this ugly. It's ugly because it's not really about what it's about. You know, this is... I don't quite know. I know that there is stuff that I would not say to a grieving widow, right? Here's what I don't know. I don't know what it is like to make those phone calls constantly, which presidents have to do. I don't know what it's like to deal with the surviving family members, the people that you have sent to war. And on some level, I don't know how easy it is to make a mistake and run afoul of what they would like to hear. Now, is what he said here, you know, he knew what he signed up for. Can that easily, in my opinion, be kind of swapped out for, hey, his sacrifice is all the more noble because he charged headlong into possible death? Maybe. Is it up to me? No. It's up to that widow. She can read that and listen to it however she wants. But ultimately, that's not what this is about. This is about a couple things. Number one, it's about Donald Trump flailing uncontrollably, as he is oft wont to do, and deciding that this is also about whether or not Obama called Gold Star families, which is ridiculous. It's about this Congresswoman deciding to make this an issue. And it's about the Chief of Staff, General Kelly, now being in the crosshairs on whether or not Obama specifically talked to him. And, I just think it's nasty and it's ugly. And normally I like nasty and I like ugly, but I don't like Gold Star families being political props. And I really didn't like it during the election. I really didn't like, I don't like it now. I just find that distasteful. Media King 909 says, wait, who brought up Kelly? Oh, no, this is the other story. I almost didn't report on it because I thought it was kind of out there. Here we go. This is yesterday. Jesus. This is a real, what a week, Lemon It's Tuesday situations here. This is a CNN article. Trump asked Kelly whether Obama called after his son was killed in action. President Donald Trump, in defense of his claim that Barack Obama didn't call loved ones of fallen soldiers, floated the idea Tuesday that reporters asked his chief of staff, retired General General John Kelly, whether Obama called him after his son died in Afghanistan. The comment came during an interview on Fox News Radio. Quote, as far as other presidents, I don't know. You could ask General Kelly, did he get a call from Obama? I don't know what Obama's policy was. I write letters and I also call. I have called, I believe, everyone, but I will use the word virtually everyone. Ninja Steve says, as a former military person who has escorted the body of fallen friends to their final resting place, I say the family does not want to be mentioned by politicians. I mean, I can't imagine why they would. And by the way, there are some really amazing stories to come out of these kind of altercations, and they have come out since. Specifically, wartime presidents, of which Obama and W were, when they got a face, there's a lot of crazy stories about like the kind of just straight up abuse that W would take. And according to some of the families, ones that hated him, he did a fairly good job of, at the very least, just standing there while they cursed him. While they cursed the president of the United States of America to his face and called him nasty names like murderer. You know? Like, that's rough. That's a really, really, really rough position for everybody involved. And I don't mean just the Gold Star family and the president. I mean anybody who's close. You know, the Subway sandwich artist closest to that altercation, I have sympathy for. Because I can't imagine the boiling cauldron of emotion involved in that altercation. Ninja Steve says, I did hate Bush, but he did call my friend's family and send a letter. You know, and I guess here's my thing. I do hope that there is on some level an issue of decorum that we can just keep for this one thing. Have these families not suffered enough that we can't make, at the very least, their suffering private between them, their lost loved one, and the military for which they died for? Maybe just that, you know, and I would hope that could be something that we could do. I don't know. All right. Well, we also got this Trump travel ban here. I don't know. I mean, whatever. The travel ban's there. Let's go back to talking about what I like to talk about. Let's get back to talking about what I like to talk about, and that is politics. That is politics, folks. We got a spicy one on our hands. I want everybody to prepare themselves. Yes, prepare yourself thusly, because we are about to take data beyond the velvet rope, letting loose the carnal pleasure of surveys. Folks, I'm going to need you guys to spritz that Axe body spray from the bathroom attendant. I need you to break down all those big bills. Hey, Benjamin Franklin, break it down. I need 100 ones. I want you to pay attention to the demographic shifts. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the politics.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
Dance, 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 dance.
That booty.
Oh, we got a spicy Alabama Senate race on our hands. This is a Fox News poll taken from October 14th to the 16th. We've got 801 registered voters. Let's go ahead and welcome first to the stage, with 42% of the vote, he is the controversial insurgent candidate for the GOP. Let's get up and give a big round of applause. Throw those bills for Roy Moore. Give me more. Give me more. But the Democrat? Wait, what was that? The Democrat in Alabama He also has 42%. Folks, his name is Doug Jones. Ladies and gentlemen, 42 to 42. It is a dead heat. So, going on and backpacking what we had talked about earlier, what does it say about Steve Bannon if he neutered the president's power, who tried to push in somebody a little bit less caustic than Roy Moore, and was rebuffed? Roy Moore wins, and then they lose this seat in Alabama. This, again, was Jeff Sessions' Senate seat. If they lose it, does it make Bannon more or less of a kingmaker? We will see. But if you look at some of the history of Roy Moore, some of the wild shit that he said, it's going to take a tremendous mobilization by the hard right, the hard R right. But I mean the anti-globalist, Breitbart conservatives, right? It's going to take a big outpouring by them to make this happen. We will see. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into But Your Emails. You can go ahead and write in theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Jim, almost prescient, writes, you give Bannon undue credit for electing Trump. Trump started his journey years ago with the birtherism, show us your papers, boy, no way you went to Harvard. Those papers aren't good enough. Then to the escalator with the Mexican rapist, then pivoting to banning Muslims. He was never Christian nor conservatives. He beat the pants off Ted, Jeb, and Kasich. My opinion, racism was his attraction. It's been said that folks voting for Trump may not be racist, but they are fine with the fact that Trump is. Jim, you are not alone in your opinion. I would disagree. I don't think that racism drove things any more than they normally drive things. I think that, spoiler alert, there are racists in this country. But I do think that anybody associated with Donald Trump at the end when he pulls off that upset is going to get a lot of credit. That's just that. My fascination with Bannon isn't necessarily that he elected Donald Trump, but rather that he has proven to create a potent and electorally viable coalition of working class white voters. And it is not only a coalition that has worked in America, it has worked abroad in Europe. And if we are looking at seismic shifts in how things get done in electoral politics, then I think it is foolhardy to not pay attention to them. IMO. And Strike It Rich in the chat points out that Donald Trump's beginning foray into politics, he says, is with the Freedom Party. It was before that. It was like in the 80s. You know, he was testing the political waters back in the Art of the Deal era. Andrew writes, dude, I can't believe you called out Action. I love that show. Sucks it didn't go further. I loved Action too. I always thought that it was a real boner that we didn't get another show like Action, because like Action was really the progenitor to like Entourage, but Entourage kind of focused on the actor side of things, and I always kind of like the producer side of things. It's just more fun because you can make fun of actors. Jeff writes, Corker made the comment about the next 9 months Trump could quit to avoid impeachment. What do you think would happen to the lead up of him quitting? Would it be a 5:30 a.m. tweet from the Golden Throne, weeks of publicly fighting Republicans and cabinet members, or a reality show? Find out tomorrow at 8/7 Central. Oh, there is no doubt that if Donald Trump was about to be impeached, it would be loud. He would be about as vocal as he has ever been. You do not pry power away from Donald Trump without him burning literally every bridge. It would be napalm. It would be crazy. He would not go quietly into the night for sure. I think that we would see, he would be Facebook Live, Periscope, he'd be on Twitch 24/7. He would be, if the drum beat around him getting pulled out of the White House, I think he would also, I don't think he would resign, to be honest with you. I think he would ride it to the very, very end. TVZ God says it'd be like prying him away from a well-done steak. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a couple things to go over real quick before we wrap it up. A reminder that we have the new Contender expansion. If you love the Contender game, the You're Fired expansion includes real quotes from much of the former Trump administration. They are now shipping, so you can go ahead and get those out to you ASAP if you head on over to thecontender.us. You can email this show, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Music has been provided by Valesco and Trop Killers. Follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere. You can find this podcast wherever you find podcasts. Go ahead and check it out. Politics on iTunes, Google Play, everywhere. In fact, do me a favor. If you like this show, go ahead and give us a review. Go ahead and give us a 5-star review. It very much helps this show going forward. Also, patreon.com/JURY is where you can help support the show if you really like this and you really want to know, if you really want another politics podcast that I do on Mondays and Fridays. All you got to do is be a $3 a week contributor on patreon.com/JURY. But until next time.
Politics.
This is your old pal, Justin Robert Young. I want to remind you that some shows talk about politics.
Yes.
You know, other shows talk about politics. And yeah, I listened to a show the other day that actually talked about politics, but like this right here, this is the only show that talks about all three. We will see you guys next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.